ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by the CEO of StarFantasyLeagues.com, Mr. Zach Stanley.
Donald, I just had a friend who moved into a new home, and his new stepmother just gave him some fine cutlery.
He saw me type that into Google to see if I could work that in there.
I didn't.
I actually literally
I did not see that.
typed that.
You looked up cutlery?
No, I knew it was a word. I wanted to ensure that it was what I thought it was.
Knives?
Yes. Yes, thank you. Yes, I understand what that is. Nick Steblenko, what stupid puns do you have for me today?
I have none. I'm not going to waste any of my energy on this stupid team.
Was that a pun? Is there a guy named Stupid on the team?
Nope.
Or team?
Nope.
Wow, he's really not going to. Okay.
I hate them so much that I wore my Cal Bears shirt because they're the only Bears team that I recognize.
Ah, I like that. See, I asked him earlier. I'm like, "Where's your Green Bay Packers?" And he came up with that explanation, and I had no issues with it.
I hate this team.
I don't know.
He's acting like the Marshal of not being fun today.
What do you mean? I can still be fun.
He's the Marshal.
If you want to, I can make
It's
fun
not
of
his
this
forte.
team. I like that one. That was good.
He is the Marshal of the sad parade today. That's about
I'm not
what it
sad.
is.
I'm ecstatic. You know why? Because every year we find a way to beat the Bears. It's just great.
Did you see that I brought in Old English for us today so we could drink Fortes? Donald wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, apparently I have clout over the show now. Cool. All right. Yeah, no drinking on the show.
Well, it makes sense that we can't drink a 40-ouncer of malt liquor.
You actually couldn't.
Can't or not allowed to.
Yeah, you couldn't see because I was shaking my head that we could. Just don't let anybody know. When we used to do the live stream on YouTube, I think we were drinking most of the time.
Yeah, well, especially on Thursday nights, we would have beers.
At 8 o'clock.
Yeah, NBA on TNT was on, and we were having a great time.
And now we have to be professional with this stupid team.
Wow. You are just so negative. Before, obviously, we are talking.
I am very positive. That's not true.
We're talking about
like this team.
We're talking about the Packers today.
Nope.
We're not.
Oh, we're not?
You're
I thought you were
That
being
was
so
nice.
negative.
That was really good. That was funny. I really appreciated that. Thank you.
Good. I want to get him riled up before we actually talk about the 2014-15 Bears. Because you hate them so much, I feel like you're going to be silent the whole time.
How did that 2011 Super Bowl work out for you, John?
How are we going back to this?
Oh, you wanted to put my Packers down. I can put your Steelers right down.
Okay, we're gonna continue to do this. It's the best part of sports is smack talk.
That's true.
That might be the
I
most
enjoy
fun.
it. I really do. And then you know what I don't like is when people take it to heart.
Oh, yeah.
They really take it hard. Have a little fun with it. That's part of the game.
You know what my favorite part of smack talk is? Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, well.
We are well aware of that at this point.
He might be the dropsicle. I'm going to start calling him that.
You have an utter disdain for his catching abilities.
Lack of catching abilities.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
you
exactly.
screwed that up. All right, before we get into the Chicago Bears, we have some news and notes we'd like to get to, and we actually have some positive, heartwarming news we're going to lead off the show with, and it doesn't involve stupid jerks smoking. It involves a guy that's very near and dear to the Buffalo Bills family hearts, Jim Kelly.
Oh, yes.
Big news. Jim Kelly just got the report in from his doctors that there is currently no sign of cancer
Woo!
anywhere.
I love it.
Honestly, can we just end the show now?
This guy
That's a positive
we
note
I
to
couldn't-
end the show.
George Costanza?
I got to be honest. I was telling Nick this morning with a lot of what I read and a lot of different reports that were coming out as he was beginning this new phase of treatment was that this cancer was treatable. There was nothing really in-depth about curable. I don't feel like they were. Obviously, the Kelly family was very optimistic, as was Bills Nation, in hoping that he would come back with positive results. But I don't know if anybody anticipated that after this round of treatment that it would be gone.
I mean, it sounded like he was literally beaten down to almost nothing.
Well, and that's what happens when you go through radiation and chemotherapy treatment is that especially up and around your face, you get troubles with your voice, you get scarring. I mean, we saw that when George Karl went through all his treatment.
He said he said he doesn't even have any saliva in his mouth.
Yeah, and
Like,
he was eating with the tube and all that stuff, and they had the pictures of him on his bed and a video of him coming out from the hospital when he got released, and it was very, very hard to watch somebody that has been so strong for his family be so depleted and worn out. But I can't believe it. I'm so happy.
Fast forward to the Hall of Fame where he's throwing a pass to Andre Reed. He actually looked pretty good.
He did. He looked like he was getting his legs back.
Yeah, now we get this kind of news. I don't think it could go any better for the beginning of the Buffalo Bills season. This is a heartwarming note to enter the season on.
And that is why
they're going to be terrible.
Months ago, I said, this is the year that they break it. This is the year. Ralph Wilson, unfortunately, leaves us. Jim Kelly fights the battle that all Bills fans have to fight every day, loving that team and just getting their heart ripped out.
I thought you were going to say we all have Buffalo Bills fans all have cancer. That's the way they're all fighting together.
I just meant that they've been beaten down and struggling for quite some time, almost 15 years. I'm saying it. They're making the playoffs.
Hopefully they can rally around this. This is extremely happy news. And it's going to be a year of honoring the great Ralph Wilson. So it's going to be exciting at the stadium.
Let me say what Zach often says inappropriately and for no reason on the show. Go Bills!
Go Bills!
We love it.
That's my one Go Bills of the season. I am completely done on it.
I mean, if he is healthy, and Ralph Wilson had a long and very, very great life, and I think it's going to be a great season no matter what.
Oh yes.
Honoring him and having our boy back and healthy, hopefully.
From something positive comes something negative. We're going to talk for 8 seconds about what happened with the entire Steelers backfield the other day. Stupid. They're stupid.
Well, it looks like they're not going to be able to get suspended this year because they're going to have to go through the whole legal process.
But I said this to you before.
Yay!
I said this to you before, though. When a player has something like that on their plate off the field, it tends to leak into their play on the field. And I think it might hurt.
Nick is in a keeper situation in one
Le'Veon.
of his leagues, trying to decide on whether to keep Le'Veon Bell. And it sounded like you decided last night what your decision was.
Actually, I decided last week, but yes, last night just drove it home.
Okay.
So.
You know what the funny thing is? The news for mock drafts immediately just pushed him back because I was drafting, and I had the 4th overall pick, got Matt Forte, came around to my 2nd round pick, and Le'Veon Bell was still there in a 10-person league. That's insanity. He's guys should be going in the top 10. And, go all the way back there.
Well, with the news that LeGarrette Blount really is going to be taking 10 to 12 touches a game and the goal line work, I honestly don't know if he's worth a second-round investment anymore.
No, I mean, it seemed like LeGarrette Blount was going to be the guy that was there once in a while, a goal line carry, a 3rd and 1, something like that, but it looks like he's going to have more of an influence on the offense than we thought.
I really believe you can do better now.
Who predicted that?
It's
you.
Yeah, you did.
It was you.
I'll give you that.
And I laughed at you.
From what he did last year, how good he was in that Patriots offense, even with Vereen and Ridley there, that means there's not that much to go through in Pittsburgh. There's really just Le'Veon Bell.
But the tough thing is you can't ever really rely on what happens in New England with the backfield situation.
It's insane.
We're seeing that happen right now with James White, where he's getting talked up. Just like last year with Kenbrell Tompkins was getting talked up, and then he really wasn't much of anything in the regular season.
He was frustrating.
Had a good game here or there. I don't know. It was a tough read, but yeah, you seem to have a pretty good handle on your team there, John.
I think I understand the team a little bit. They don't usually like the featured guy. With Dwyer and Redmond and all these things, even when they had Mendenhall, he really wasn't ever like just the guy. They kind of always like to have a second change of pace guy.
What about with the bus?
Okay, that's different. That's a Hall of Famer. Nobody else since then has been a guy who's going to step in.
He's a sophomore, but Le'Veon Bell is in his 2nd season.
You're going to put him in the Hall of Fame right now?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
Just checking.
Why would I do that?
I'm just checking.
That's
all right. I
think Hall of Famer with asthma, by the way, somebody that really leads the charge for all us asthmatics.
I had to have a deep breath there because I've had some struggles with asthma, and every time somebody mentions the word, it actually makes me a little bit short of breath, which is very strange.
A little breathing panic?
Yeah, a little bit.
That'll happen.
All right, so since this situation is unfolding as we go, we're going to talk about this in more depth tomorrow because they're playing tonight. Steelers are playing the Eagles, which is, I wish this was a regular season game because it's always fun when they have the interstate rival.
Bell actually had to pay his own way to get to the game.
I saw that. Yeah, but what did he drive?
I don't know.
It's like
just said he had to pay his own way.
It's a couple hundred miles. It's not like he had to fly
I'm
out
pretty
to the
sure
coast.
They either took a charter bus or a charter jet. I'm not sure.
A jet. They're going like
up and
20
down, whatever.
minutes.
Well,
Get out of here.
I don't know
NFL.
where were they? Were in Philadelphia?
It's in Philly.
It was in Philly.
Yep.
They were somewhere in Pennsylvania at the time. They're not going far.
But you can drive. I mean,
You can drive,
You
yeah.
can drive until you have your first court date, I believe, and then they take away your license.
Do they? Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I believe that to be the case.
I do not know, but we're not talking about DUIs. We're not talking about weed. We're not talking about Jim Kelly anymore. We're talking about the Chicago Bears, and the show's over. Right,
The
Nick?
Bears.
Since, Nick, you're not going to be involved in this conversation.
I'm actually really quite pleased because we only have a couple more minutes left in this segment, and we
And then the next
still
one.
have not talked about them. So
Fine.
I'm
All
okay.
right.
That's
we're
fine.
We're going to talk about the 2013-14 Bears before we get into this season's outlook. Man, they started out really good and then collapsed. And it had something to do with Jay Cutler, but I don't think really it did because, that other guy that came in and got paid. He got paid. You won't even mention him by name, will you?
What, McCown?
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious that Josh McCown came in
Looked
and
so good.
outperformed Jay Cutler.
He did.
It was I told you, I really honestly I love the NFC North. I hate this team, but I love the NFC North because they always find a way to screw it all up. And there were the Packers left for dead, and they just got to have the division. Thank you for coming back, number 12.
This is such a talented offense that it wasn't surprised that a capable McCown could come in and do something with it. But this team really does rise and fall by how Jay Cutler performs. And it's usually falling.
Yep.
It's usually because he makes those critical mistakes in the critical situations, holds onto the ball too long, makes a Collinsworth gunslinger pass, and frustrates the heck out of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is the
Except you.
That is the biggest word when you want to say he's frustrating. Especially if you own him in fantasy. He's a guy who can put up monster numbers, especially with the staff around him. Matt Forte, 1,900 total yards last season, 12 touchdowns. Brandon Marshall, 100 catches, 12 touchdowns. Alshon Jeffrey, what a standout year for him. 89 catches, 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns. And Marty Bennett, a solid year, 700-plus yards and 5 touchdowns.
How ridiculous is it? If you look at this, Cutler had 2 300-plus yard games throughout the course of the season. McCown comes in and has 3 in a row in November and early December.
Yeah, it's pretty sad considering the fact that he has all of these amazing weapons. He has 4 guys who can catch the ball, including, obviously, the 2 receivers, Bennett and Forte, who just is a beast catching the ball.
In all honesty,
74 catches.
In all honesty, though, I mean, the only one that they really faced a tough defense was St. Louis. Then they had Minnesota and Dallas. So.
That's true. Yeah, those are those are gimmies a little bit.
A little bit.
Well, yeah, thank you for playing in the NFC North, where apparently secondaries don't exist.
Yep.
They don't exist.
Nope, they don't.
That's why this defense, no such thing. Doesn't exist, right? No defenses. All right, coming after the break, we are still talking about the Chicago Bears, and you're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Donald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
That is right. You can tweet us at SFL Show if you want to be part of the conversation about the Chicago Bears, and tell Nick how much you love the Chicago Bears. Tell him.
I don't know why you would want to do that.
So you can get mad over Twitter and send out threats and get blocked.
It's not going to happen. I mean, you're not going to make me angry because all I have to say is, how did it feel to get spanked in Week 17 last year?
Scoreboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Just say scoreboard. That's something
Just
that
say
happens.
Aaron Rodgers, and then they will cry.
I don't think they'll cry.
No, they should.
All right, so the Chicago Bears, we talked about, they were Jekyll and Hyde on one side of the ball. Offense 8th in the league. Those numbers, that's about right. They're top 10.
It's just
offense,
hilarious to me
or
that they finished 500 like that, and then the Packers are without Aaron Rodgers for, 7 weeks, and they managed to make the playoffs. It's just hilarious.
Defense wasn't great.
That's an understatement. 30th overall, 32nd against the rush. Wow, that's just depressing. Looked like Julius Peppers took a little bit of a step back the last season. Just a little bit. He's pretty good, though. He's pretty good.
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think he took a step back. I think the entire defense around him stunk. They let go of their best linebacker that I've ever seen. I know I'm young, but that I've ever seen, in Brian Urlacher.
They didn't let him go.
Yeah, they did. They could have re-signed him, and they were like, no, we don't really want to.
Well, no other team took him. He retired.
Why would you have let go of him? Why? I'm not sure why he didn't.
Maybe
sign
they
with another
still
team.
would have negotiated something.
I don't know. I thought he was doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll be
Yeah, he was
honest.
still. I mean,
I think he was better than what they
I think
had.
he'll be a guy that people look at as going out near the top of his game, so that's cool.
That's actually a nice way to go out if you think about it. All right, so
Like W. Sapp.
wow. Okay. All right, so Urlacher gone one season. This year, no more Julius Peppers, but they replaced him with yet another future Hall of Famer in Jared Allen.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy about that signing. I mean, Jared Allen is definitely. I think he's an improvement over Julius Peppers, more so just because I think that he. I think he has youth on him. I'm not sure, but either way, I mean, Jared Allen is. He's always involved. He's never had an off season. Julius Peppers, I think he's had one, maybe two
Like
off seasons.
32 or something.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a young kid.
But remember, yeah, he was contemplating retirement too.
Was he?
Yeah, he was like, if nobody wants me, I want to be on a team that has a chance to win.
Yeah, Jared Allen.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we know the Raiders offered him more money, and he turned them down because the Raiders are not going to win a Super Bowl.
They can't win.
So I'm not really sure why he chose the Bears, though. They're not going to win anything.
Oh, yeah, of course. All right, but they did need to shore up this defense. They got a bunch of pieces. Jared Allen, Lamar Houston's coming in there from Oakland. They tried to get a little help in the secondary. Ryan Mundy, not going to really help all that much. Again, another former Steeler who was just kind of cast off because he wasn't that good.
Yeah,
They went defensive heavy in the draft, though, too.
Yeah, they did. Their first pick was safety Kyle Fuller. He will probably step in and help them, but how much is he going to be able to help the corners around him?
After he's done being Martellus Bennett's punching bag, then sure.
Oh, he was the guy that got punched?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Cute.
Yep, he was the guy that got body slammed.
Here's my big question. Do you think that's good for team chemistry, some fights in preseason?
Well, that's interesting that you say that because have you been watching Hard Knocks?
No, I don't watch
Because
Hard
that was a big issue with the Atlanta Falcons. They actually wanted that to happen because teams or people around the league were saying that the Falcons were soft. So Mike Smith wanted to see them fighting or at least showing some animosity or anger when something didn't go their way. But at the same time, then you have guys that are literally just making a fist and punching somebody in the helmet. That just doesn't work. You don't win that battle.
Yeah, and he wanted to see them backing up their teammates as well because there was an issue in the first couple games last year with them not coming to the help of guys that are getting cheap shotted a little bit. So they want some of that. I think it's usually good. I think it shows that players are fired up. These are guys that are competing for spots. We all know they're testosterone fueled, and these things are going to happen.
Except Marty Bennett, who's not competing for anything because that belongs to him.
I can't remember. There was somebody. Oh, actually, you know what? I was watching the Warren Sapp Football Life the other day, and they talked about the whole thing between him and Brett Favre going back and forth, and Sapp would always tackle Favre, and I think he got him like 13 times over the course of his career.
Yeah.
And they got in fights. They were jawing. They'd go at each other all the time, but there would always be a helmet pad at the end of it. And I think that's just kind of the way that things are mostly in the NFL.
See, I agree with everything you just said. I don't think that the Bears took it as a positive because they suspended him.
I think there,
so,
but,
I mean, there's
but I
nothing
think there
good
was some
there.
other. I mean, I was surprised. I think there were some other issues going on there with how he was conducting himself overall in terms of effort.
Yeah.
And
maybe it does turn out
that
to
was
be positive.
clearly a very counterproductive move on his part because
Yeah.
there really wasn't much going on there.
Yep.
And he just goes at the young guy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting. We talk about people fighting for spots on this team. I wanted to get into the camp battles real quick because on this team, it doesn't really seem like there's much going on at the surface. We know all of the primetime players on offense. Sadly, there's nothing going on behind Jay Cutler this season. We mentioned certain someone last year who did really well and is now in Tampa Bay, so he's gone. Behind him, they have nothing. Jimmy Clausen's apparently stepped in to be the backup quarterback here. So if Jay Cutler misses his 2 to 4 games, like he probably will, they're screwed.
Well, yeah, very upset that Jimmy Clausen didn't pan out. I love the Fighting Irish, but he just really wasn't a good NFL prospect for whatever reason.
the man just hangs on to the ball too much.
Yeah.
He just does. He loves to wait till the last second to try to get rid of the ball, and then he absolutely loves to try to do something with it when there's really no option for him to do it, try to extend the play. He's really not as fast as he was initially in his career.
So he's a less talented RG3 is what you just said. Extends the play too long, tries to make something when it's not there. That's pretty much what RG3
less
does.
athletically talented.
That's what I just said, yeah.
I don't know about
You just
this-
explained what
I don't know
RG3
about,
does.
I don't know about decision making.
Have you seen him get pinballed in preseason so far? He makes really poor decisions.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Regardless, the hope is still that Jay Cutler is going to be healthy for 16 games, although I agree with you. I just don't see that happening with his track record.
Let me give you some stats here. Hasn't played 16 games since 2009
Yeah, that's good.
That's not any time in the past 5 years.
See, that's how I feel. The way that Zach just laughed, that's how I feel every time somebody starts talking about Jay Cutler as being a premier quarterback. I'm sorry, but yeah, you're not out there for 16 games. You throw to the other team way too much, and you just don't figure out a way to get it done.
He's not Ben Roethlisberger. He's not.
I was just going to compare him to him.
He's not 6 foot whatever. You can't hang on to the ball and get absolutely trucked as small as he is, and that's what he does.
Big Ben's a guy who misses almost 1 to 2 games a season every year, but he has no long-term issues from it. Jay Cutler seems to be, if he misses 1 game, it goes into 2. It goes into 3, 4.
And he gets some concussions, too.
Yeah. Not good.
My favorite of all time will always be that NFC Championship game when he just didn't come back. He didn't come back, and everybody's like, what is going on?
And he's just pouting.
And
on
he's
the
like,
sidelines.
I had a partial tear. And then he ended up being on the field the next season.
Yep.
That was great. That was the best.
All right.
And he just, you're right. He had that pout, that stupid
This
look on his
conversation
face.
leads to the biggest offseason question for the Bears. Will the Bears rely too heavily on the health of an injury-prone Jay Cutler to succeed this year?
Yeah.
Especially when you get rid of the
out.
backup who was really good last year. They have nothing.
But let's be fair. Did you really think that Josh McCown heading into the season was a viable, a good quarterback that was going to step in and do what he did? I mean, you didn't think he was going to throw for 350 yards every game. You were like, well, we'll see what happens.
And one pick.
But a more capable backup than what Jimmy Clausen is. This is one of the teams in the league, and there's a few of them that you need to get somebody behind that guy so that your season doesn't go to hell when it happens. And it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, considering how talented they are, aside from Jay Cutler, if you take him out of the equation, I think anybody's going to have a decent time there. But you want your number one guy there when your team is that talented on offense.
You know what Seth would say right now?
Alex Smith.
Kitna.
Oh, God. I thought you were going to say he'd say Alex Smith couldn't captain that team. Alex Smith would be great on this team.
No, and it honestly does worry me from a fantasy perspective. What happens if you get down towards the end of the season, you've been riding Brandon Marshall or Alshon Jeffrey or Matt Forte, and then all of a sudden Cutler goes down in week 12?
Which
now you're staring.
Right.
Now you're staring at the fantasy playoffs, and you got one of those guys as your studs. It does make me a little bit.
You know what the
nervous.
funny thing is? I actually trust Matt Forte in those situations more because I think he actually he did better when McCown was in there.
Sure.
Because a lot of guys
dump
did.
downs.
A lot of guys did.
Yeah,
do
I know.
better.
No, but I'm saying a lot more check downs, a lot more dump downs to Matt Forte. He caught 74 balls last year.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Hang on. Now you got to attribute a lot of that to Mark Trestman. Mark Trestman did a fantastic job with this offense. He allowed Alshon Jeffrey to turn into a legitimate 1B receiver almost. I mean, I know Marshall is clearly the number one, but man, Alshon Jeffrey just came out of nowhere to be. Now he's getting drafted in the second round of fantasy draft.
His ADP is certainly reflecting the huge jump he made last year.
I was getting him in like 14 last year. Awesome.
And then Forte, he was always usurped around the goal line by Michael Bush, and last season Trestman ran him to hell inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah, who was Michael Bush last year?
Yeah, now he's gone.
He had like 60 carries.
And that's the way it should have been all along. Everybody knew that Forte was a talent, but I'm talking too nice about these guys. They stink.
You stop that. All right. The one other camp battle I was interested in, because you said no more Bush, he's gone. We have Sean Drone there, but it looks like he's kind of just a guy. That's the whole thing. They did draft Kadeem Carey. Was pretty good in college. Why can't he be the guy right away and a possible handcuff candidate for Matt Forte? I know the guy hasn't really had that many issues in his career.
Well, it's a tough situation, but the one thing that you do have working for you is that neither of those guys is getting drafted in fantasy drafts. Nope. So I think that you can just kind of let it go and wait until the season gets started, see who actually solidifies the number 2 job, and then scoop them up off the waiver wire.
It's blocking. Everything for new running backs in the NFL that have talent boils down to whether they can block or not.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
So you're saying in Arizona, Rich Rod doesn't teach people how to block? Wasn't the Rich Rod coach coach there?
What are you talking about?
Kadeem Carey, wasn't he from Arizona?
Oh, I don't know.
Why do you not know these things?
I'm sorry. Because I don't like the Bears. I don't like them, so I don't try to follow their backup players.
I would say, That's
Well,
not.
he did
That's
get-
not
he
a
did
Bear
get
thing.
drafted.
That's not a Bear thing. That's an Arizona college football. Who follows college football?
Do you see the
Yes.
jersey I'm wearing? Pac-12.
Oh, okay.
Pac-12 Cal.
Yes, I get it. All right, let's move ahead to actual drafting because there aren't that many players on this Bears team to select from. Some teams have some deeper, pools to pull from. But like I said before, you know who you're getting on this team, and it's 5 guys deep, and that's about it.
There's 5, and that's all you need to know.
All right, so let's talk about Mr. I'm gonna miss 3 to 4 games at the end of the season and probably kill your fantasy hopes.
Well, Zach is he's on the Cutler train. Are you not?
I'm not on the train.
Are you all aboard?
I'm not on the train.
Personally, I think that you can see a number of quarterbacks this season finish above Jay Cutler, namely Ben Roethlisberger.
I thought you were gonna say namely.
I
really
think
thought you
that
were
Ben
gonna say.
Roethlisberger will finish ahead of.
I
Jay
thought you were
Cutler.
gonna say namely all of them, and I was really gonna laugh at you.
We've already compared the two. I think Ben Roethlisberger
That's the back and
finishes
forth
ahead.
that we have right now is that I'm with Cutler over Roethlisberger.
I am going to break this tie and say, what a surprise! I am a homer. I'm going with Ben Roethlisberger. That wasn't. Although let's be fair, Jay Cutler has more tools. Ben Roethlisberger has health.
Can we make
can't
that
believe I'm saying
fantasy
that.
points per game instead?
Nope.
No, we cannot do that. All right, coming out the break, we are talking about fantasy for the Chicago Bears and also some overall mock draft stuff. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Donald, Teddy Bear 2, and the Deucey Moose. Only on the Team.
We are back, and I wish I could tell you the awful names for fantasy teams that Nick has been saying in the break because we're still talking about the Chicago Bears, who he hates.
Yeah, like Brandon Marshmallow because he's soft.
Okay,
Marshmallow.
that is much tamer than the names you were giving off air.
Or what? Would you rather?
Nope, I don't want you to say those ones.
Martellus, I beat rookies Bennett. No,
That's
not
just
good.
That's just truth. That's not actually a mean team
Jay
name.
Cutlass.
Jay missing his ACL Cutler.
Yep.
No.
This looks like Cutlass.
That's yeah.
Cutler.
I was kind of going with that.
Wow.
Not going for the proper pronunciation of it.
All right, so before the break, we had a nice little fight about Ben Roethlisberger and Jay Cutler when talking about drafting. I'm still really high on Ben Roethlisberger as a backup. I'm also high on Andy Dalton, who you can probably get as a backup. Phil Rivers as a backup. So I'm not really worried about a second quarterback this season. I think it's pretty deep.
I'm high on Ben Roethlisberger as your starter. I am dead
Really?
serious about that. Yes.
I know he got it. He snuck into the top 10 last year. I think he was exactly either 9 or 10, depending on your league setup. But
Todd Haley has specifically said that they are going to run a spread offense. They are going to pass the ball more. I just think that Roethlisberger finally has a rapport with Antonio Brown. He has Marcus Wheaton, who is a breakout candidate, and I think that Heath Miller being healthy is going to help as well.
God, I love Heath Miller.
God, I love it.
I think I'm the only human being that owns a Heath Miller jersey. I've never seen another one.
I'll bet if you drove about 4 hours down to
Thank you.
Pennsylvania.
Okay. Outside of Pennsylvania, I have never seen another because I always wear it. And they're like, "Oh, is that your name?" I'm like, I hate you. Yeah, thank
Is
you.
that serious? People say that?
Yeah, people have asked about if my last name is Miller.
Sounds like they don't know what they're doing.
Thank you. Well,
Go home, fan. You're
yeah,
drunk.
Exactly. Go home, you're drunk. All right, let's talk about fantasy implications for the rest of these Chicago Bears. I'm sorry, Nick. We'll get to the mock draft in a little bit. But
That's okay.
All right, what about Forte? I feel like if you're drafting in the top 4, you can't go wrong with any of the top 4 running backs at all.
I am going to be honest. I'm a little wary of Jamal Charles.
Okay, I was going to say, if you said Matt Forte, I was going to hit
just
you.
a little bit. Something just
Seems
doesn't
like
sound
too
right.
much of a lock.
Yeah, something doesn't seem right. I don't know. Maybe it's just a feeling. I just have a feeling. I think Forte is a lock. I think he, at least on that offense, you have some other pieces that can take pressure away from him.
That's true.
Jamal Charles is the focus.
All right,
There's really nothing else.
Here's the big question then. If you're at number 3 and AP and LaShawn McCoy come off the board, what's your decision?
Forte.
Okay. I actually have.
Well, actually, I would go Eddie Lacy, but that's just because
I
don't
would
like
go.
Lacy.
I would go with Charles.
Would you really?
Yeah.
So we all have different answers because I really like Matt Forte this year. With the evolution of Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall.
You can argue. The thing is, you can argue with everybody in the top 4. It's just about who you think is going to do the best.
Yep.
And then don't forget, you can get Le'Veon Bell in the 4th round, according to Tim Hasselbeck. God, that
You might be able to at this
okay,
point.
but his comment came before this whole thing, so
All right, fair
he
enough.
made no sense.
Fair enough.
No sense at all. All right, let's talk about the rest of this team. Brandon Marshall, 5th receiver overall, going late 1st round, early 2nd right now.
Fine with me.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
I think that's right where you want to take him. I don't know. I mean, in some situations, I am just as optimistic about him as AJ Green.
Actually, I'm more so.
Because of the offense he's in, the amount of catches that he could potentially get. I mean, how many catches did he have last year? Over 90, right?
100 even.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. 100. So 100, and he only got in the end zone
12 times.
Oh, he got in the end zone.
Yeah, he got in the end zone a
times.
lot.
Yeah,
he had less yardage than Alshon.
The year before was when he had like 5. Right?
There were two seasons before that he had 3 when he played for the Dolphins.
Okay.
This is the thing that people are forgetting. Mark Trestman is a very, very, very smart offensive coach, and he figures out a way to make things work with the pieces that he has, and he has fantastic athleticism on the outsides. So they're going to force feed Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall is as consistent as they come.
Yep.
Not a lot of injury issues historically, and Cutler loves him.
Yep.
So
all of the above.
Check it all off your list.
Yeah, that's a pretty good combination.
And add in a potent offense.
I think you can finish him number 4. Really, I would put him number 4 as a wide receiver.
I would take him over AJ Green.
Yep.
Yeah, AJ Green, I've seen him going between like 20 and 24 in some drafts. He's been dropping a little bit.
Which is surprising.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Still, I think Marshall's locked in as the 4th overall wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. All right, what about the other one? Alshon Jeffrey, wide receiver number 9. They have 2 receivers in the top 10 and a top 5 running back on this team. That's how good this offense is. He's going late second round, about 22nd, probably almost on par with where AJ Green's going. Because AJ Green is between the 18 to 24 area. He's at 22.
I've seen AJ Green usually falling somewhere a little bit earlier in the second round. Alshon Jeffrey, I think he would be perfect if you get him at the end of the second, beginning of the third.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I see him, if I'm like the second or third pick overall, I see him coming on the way back. It's tough to look away from.
Really?
No, if nobody takes him, he falls to you. You feel like you've got 2 number 1 guys. You really do.
But at the same time, you have a guy he's number 2 in the passing offense.
I know, but this team spreads it around. It doesn't seem to really matter.
Yeah, you're right.
He had more yards last year, and he didn't really turn it on until a couple weeks into the season. He wasn't like amazing right away, so that number could have been bigger too.
That's true.
So I mean, Jay Cutler can spread the ball around. That's not going to be a problem. Like I said, there's basically 2 receivers on that team, and then the third's going to end up being Santonio Holmes.
Well, he has 2 receivers on his team, and then 11 on the other side.
Of course, he had to throw that in there. What a surprise. All right, the last guy I want to talk about, since nobody else in this team even matters at all, you just undrafted the rest of the team, Martellus Bennett. I liked him a lot last year. He was one of my late round tight end sleepers. I ended up pairing him with somebody else, and he was perfectly fine. He's a guy that you're not excited to have as your number 1, but if you compare him with another guy that has some upside, I feel like that's a pretty good.
I was kind of going to say the same thing. Yeah, I would definitely make sure to pair him with somebody else.
Lad Green.
But yeah, sure. Yeah, no, that's definitely a way to go.
Did he miss 2 games last year?
He missed something. I remember not playing him for a couple weeks. I'm not sure if it was injury or if he was like playing through an injury. It might have been something like that.
Because his production was still, he played every game?
Oh, yeah, he played every game, 16.
But I think
that's still very, very solid tight end production right there. And he is still, this is only his, 7th year? And he is as old as me. So there you have it.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
He's 27, so he's still in his prime. Cutler likes his tight ends. He's a big body. He's coming off a solid year. You're not going to get a ton of upside. We know that.
But he's open
where he's going right now, and if you look at the guys that are down there that are going before him, he's on par with a lot of them.
I would say a couple more touchdowns because he only had 5 last season. A couple more touchdowns, and he's definitely vaulting into the top 10 as far as tight ends go.
He could easily reach top 10.
I see top 10 performance pretty easily there, but not much more upside than that.
Right.
That's
He's not fast. No. He doesn't stretch the field.
Yeah,
he's reliable.
I know Kyle Rudolph's going a lot earlier than Marty Bennett is, but he's a guy who is probably going to be top 7 or 8, but he has the upside to be a top 4 guy if he has a season like he had 2 years ago.
Right, exactly.
So I'd rather have Kyle Rudolph if you can get him at a decent time, but Marty Bennett's okay.
I would also feel a little bit safer with Bennett than Zach Ertz. I feel like you're
can pair those guys too.
Yeah, you're confident you know what you're going to get with Bennett. Zach Ertz, we're looking for upside. If you want to go the conservative route, I think Bennett's definitely the way to go.
Look at him down there with freaking Ladarius Green. The guy that
I've actually been able to pair him in some mock drafts together, which I actually like that combo a lot because if Ladarius Green does turn it on early, you can
right,
either
you
trade
got
Bennett
Old
or you can
Faithful,
trade Green.
You got Old Faithful, and then you got a potential breakout.
Very true.
Yeah, I'm okay. I also like the Jordan Cameron last year. The second he started really pouring it on, trade him for something that you actually like a lot more than him. Because, yeah, I'm not all for the boom guys right away because they have better trade value to me.
Yeah, fair enough.
I like it. All right, so we're talking about mock drafts now. We've been doing a mock draft all week, breaking it down round by round. We are through 9 rounds, and I will be honest, I think we have some issues.
What do you mean?
Namely with Jason's team. I know he's sitting next to us in an office.
God. You started this yesterday, and I don't understand where you're coming from.
Nick doesn't agree. I agree with you.
You agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, his team, I think there's some problems. I can't see where he's getting weekly production from the running back position. Let's go through his team first because I'm worried. Through 9 rounds, he has Demaryius Thomas, Brandon Marshall, Drew Brees, Trent Richardson, Fitzgerald, Jordan Reed, MJD, Jeremy Hill, and Sammy Watkins. He has 3 running backs. None of them are a number 1 option. None of them.
What?
None of them.
What are you talking about? Trent Richardson is their guy in Indianapolis. He is their running back.
Zach's making the face. How are you talking about this?
Things have not been good, and so far in preseason, things are not good. And now we had
it's a pass-heavy offense too.
One of the coaches
This has not been a pass-heavy offense. It may turn into
one of the
pass-heavy
coaches came out today and said that he needs to get it together.
No, the GM said that he needs to answer the bell.
The GM.
He didn't say that he needs to get it together. I've also heard a lot of positive things about how he has gotten to understand. He's gotten to understand the playbook. He has definitely been a little bit faster off his first step. Whatever. All I'm saying is that I don't think it's that big of a deal considering what else he had. Drew Brees, top 2 possible quarterback, and then he has Brandon Marshall and Demaryius Thomas. Both of them are first-round talents. So he really has 3 first-round talents. 3. How can you argue
Drew
with that?
Brees is a first-round talent?
Yeah, I've seen him go in the first round.
Would you take him?
No, that's not my strategy.
Would you take him ever? Would you advise anyone to take him ever?
It's too early. He's pretty early.
Possibly.
That is bull.
If he drops to the third round, yay.
If I'm the last pick in a 16-round draft.
Okay, there you go.
All right, fine. So he has 2 first-round talents and a second or a third-round talent in Drew Brees.
I actually because we disagree so heavily. I'm not going to talk about anybody's team. We only have a few minutes left here. I'm going to wait for the rest of our teams to the last segment. We're going to talk about his team. If you're in this position, Zach, and you see his roster breakdown, he's got 3 running backs, one of which is a starter. Jeremy Hill and MJD's going to be a share guy with Darren McFadden unless there's an injury. And Jeremy Hill, what are you getting there? I have no idea. Where are you going in rounds 10 through 12 to shore up that issue?
I'm going to try to get some of the hot topic backup running backs that could end up being some premier guys this year.
Okay. So guys that went in 10 through 12, just between the 4 of us, included Jonathan Stewart, Dexter McCluster, Carlos Hyde, and LeGarrette Blount, who I think this draft happened before an issue arose. And the only one that Jason grabbed was Jonathan Stewart, who I think has the least upside of any of the guys I just named.
Yeah, that's probably true. He had 2 touchdowns this past preseason game, but I didn't really care about that.
Yeah.
He has some of the most. This was a guy that everybody always thought was going to be the guy and replace D'Angelo Williams and come into his own.
He's still going strong.
He's had a litany of injury problems throughout his career. It doesn't seem to be going away. And this offense is looking a little messy this year.
All right, here's my biggest question. If you are late to the game to grab running backs and you're sitting through rounds 10 through 12 and you see all these high upside guys, who are you looking to target for your highest upside backup running back right now?
Devontae Freeman.
Well, so you don't include Joique Bell in that?
Joique Bell's gone in
He's
like the
number
fifth.
2 running back.
He's in like the 5th round. I said the 10 through 12.
You cannot include that
10
type
through
of
12. Yeah, I don't know.
So
kidding me?
Devonta Freeman?
Well, I got Devontae Freeman earlier than that because I don't think he's going to fall to 10 or 12.
What about Carlos Hyde?
Carlos Hyde, I really like.
West.
I mean, Hill's going higher than that.
Yeah.
There's a few different guys you can look at.
All right, coming up the break, we're going to talk more about our mock drafts, and you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
We are back, and we were talking mock drafts before the break. We only got to Jason's team because I noticed some issues in his mock draft, and Nick will not let this die.
No, I won't.
Nick wants
because
to fight
I'm really curious,
to the death.
Curious what you guys. I want to know what you would do instead of drafting Drew Brees in the 3rd round.
I told you I would take Rashad Jennings.
Okay.
I say so.
So
Before we get here, the problem was I mentioned that I think he didn't grab a running back early enough, and he ran into his running backs through 12 rounds are Trent Richardson, MJD, Jeremy Hill, Jonathan Stewart. That's a sad bunch.
I don't think Trent Richardson's that bad, but let me lay this down first because going with a wide receiver in your first 2 rounds, it's a different strategy, yes, but it's also been proven to be very successful.
I don't have a problem with that, especially this year.
Okay, but I also don't think that he did that bad of a job in the 3rd round when you get Drew Brees. Drew Brees is always a number 1 quarterback.
Okay, here's my question.
5,000 yards.
Hold on. Here's my big question. If he had waited 2 rounds and grabbed Matthew Stafford, who's comparatively in that category as top 5.
Matthew Stafford drives me nuts because he's up and down. I know he's good, and I know he's going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
New coach.
But he does this up and down stuff where Drew Brees, he is consistent. He is he's usually over 20 fantasy points every week.
Don't you think there's a chance that he could have gotten Rashad Jennings there and still ended up?
The jury's still out on Rashad Jennings' situation because of the fact that Andre Williams keeps taking goal line touches away from him. I agree with you. I think that he's going to be fine this year, but I also don't have a problem with Drew Brees, and I do think that Trent Richardson got a bad rap because last season he comes in middle of the season, doesn't have a chance to learn the playbook, doesn't have a chance to get comfortable in the offense. I think that he still has an opportunity to be a good running back.
But this rant, we've got 53 other guys on the roster. He needs to, carry his weight just like the rest of them, blah, blah, blah.
Well, what was the context of the situation?
He has 1 good carry to open up preseason, and then he goes 13 for 26 yards, which is just like last year.
It's preseason.
All right, you know what?
Show me some life.
You guys are
Show
having
me a sign.
You guys are having this great fight here. I just needed to have zero segue for this, but if you're having this much of an argument, why don't you have it on StarFantasyLeagues.com? Get in one of these mock drafts, get in a season-long league, and prove it. Prove that you love Trent Richardson that much. Take him where you said Jason took him. Okay, StarFantasyLeagues.com. I'm going to give you a bonus offer to take Trent Richardson. The bonus offer, yeah, no, not you. The bonus code is not Trent Richardson. It's not T-Rich. It's free14 FREE14. That's 100% deposit bonus to $2,000. That's quite large, right?
Bring it on.
A lot of money. I'm okay with that. And you get an $11 credit as well. That's free14 FREE14. And guys, go back to your fighting. I'm enjoying this.
What do you think that Maurice Jones-Drew is going to do?
Yes, are you starting him ever?
I think you would have to, given his team.
There you go. But
I don't think he's going to be that bad. He has 3 wide receivers that are going to be perfectly fine. They're probably all going to get over 1,000 yards. And he has a quarterback that is going to be a stud. Going to be a stud. Stud.
Wow. Thank you for the listeners in Rochester that just got their eardrums blown out. If you want to send the bill, it's Nick Steblenko, care of somewhere in Rochester. I don't know
to be kind of fair, Maurice Jones-Drew was like the last guy left. Whatever that means.
The last no.
He was one of the last guys left. See, Fred Jackson's going down in the 6th round there. And he's going, late in the 7th.
Can I have an unpopular opinion? I still think Danny Woodhead is more valuable than a guy like MJD in a PPR league.
Why?
And he's going so much later than these guys. So much later. Why are you wasting a pick on MJD? Yeah. What's the point of this?
Well, of course he's going later because he only has one roll.
He went the end of the 6th here.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Oh, before the 7th.
I think that's because of our awesome rankings that will help out our players if they're a little lost.
Talk about those rankings on StarFantasyLeagues.com. 100% to $2,000 bonus code, $11 free. It's free14 FREE14. Get in the game today. Make some mock drafts. Join some money leagues, only a 10% fee.
Jason, your team stinks.
That is true, and if you drafted a terrible team like Jason, you're in some trouble, and you shouldn't be relying on Trent Richardson. Take it easy, guys.
Terrible.